Hello, welcome to Focus on Fantasy Romance, episode number 49, a podcast where we discuss books, genre, industry, and our geeky lives. There's my cat. I'm your host, Elle Klaus.
I'm A.R.D. Clerk.
I'm Paulina Woods.
Electra Gatus.
And my cat just got the door open. That's amazing. She does have opposable thumbs, though. So today we're doing a book review. We are talking about Ruby Dixon's Fire in His Blood, a post-apocalyptic dragon romance. This is the first in a series of, there's 3 right now. This was selected by Ishabelle, who couldn't be here today, through no fault of her own. Paulina is still reading the book, but she's like super fast at reading. So I'm going to start with kind of a quick summary. And FYI, spoiler alerts through this whole goddamn episode. So if you haven't read the book and you want to, go do that and then come back and listen. Okay, so the story follows Claudia, who lives in some city in Texas. And it's after this giant rift opened in the sky like 6 years ago or something, and dragons came through and pulverized society, so everyone lives in these little I don't know, hobo towns, I don't know what you call them, like these forts that are named after cities. And she and her sister and a friend live in a bus, and she scavenges to find things to sell and get by. So the book opens that she's being hauled in. She's arrested for scavenging because apparently it's against the law to scavenge. And the mayor wants to cast her out of the city, like exile her. Well, the captain of the guard, I just saw your comment, Amy, sorry. The captain of the guard says, hey, we've got something else. We're going to take her to the top of this tallest building, tie her to a pole, take her clothes off, and sacrifice her to a dragon because we heard this rumor that this happened in some other town. Okay. So this happens, the dragon arrives and transforms into a human-looking male. So he's not human, because, you know, he's still a goddamn dragon, but looks human-esque. And I don't know. So the story progresses from here. I don't want to go into too much of a summary, but I actually want to go kind of last about my original gut feelings about the story. So we're going to pass it to Amy, and I want you to talk about Claudia and if you liked her as a character. And the male's character's name is, I was pronouncing it Kale. You can pronounce it however you want, but it was basically Kale. What did you think, Amy?
In my head.
Yeah.
So Claudia was, I don't know. I mean, she was kind of flat to me. I didn't really care that much about her in one way or the other. I didn't hate her. She didn't have the typical characteristics that made me despise a female character. So I didn't hate her off the bat, and I didn't hope she got ate by a dragon. But I also didn't care if she did or not. And that's not a pun, by the way. I mean, she was okay. I don't really know what to say about Claudia. I was kind of like, what makes you so special? Like, that's really what kind of ran through my head when I was reading the book, because she was basically a skinny, redheaded chick who, you know, was just trying to survive and was really worried that her sister, consequently named Amy, was going to turn into a hooker to, you know, feed them. So that was really like the biggest concern she had, pretty much. I mean, she didn't want to die, and I thought she was pretty scrappy, and she was like a Punky Brewster kind of female heroine type character. Yeah, that's what I have to say about Claudia, because frankly, she really wasn't all that well developed to me. I just, you know, she was there. She was like a cardboard figurine. She could have been Barbie. She could have been Ken. She could have been, you know, G.I. Joe, for all I knew. She was just a person in the character, you know.
So Electra is nodding and shaking her head.
I'm going to assume she
on
agrees
things that
with
you're
my,
saying.
yes, I'm going to assume she agrees with my description of Claudia, so we'll let her say how she feels.
Well, yeah, I think Claudia was flat. Actually non-existing. I'll have to be honest with you. To be honest with you, I was more obsessed with how the rift happened than I did about the characters. I'll be honest with you. So I don't know. I was not a fan of Claudia whatsoever. I didn't think she really brought anything to the table for the story wise.
So that's kind of interesting because the whole story is written mostly from Claudia's point of view. You do have some flashes into Kale's point of view, but a vast majority of the book is Claudia. So like POV balance wise, it's definitely skewed towards
Claudia.
And right. And I thought Claudia was kind of stereotypical badass. Do you know what I mean? Like it really made her stand out against like this whole slew of strong female leads. I understood like she was just trying to get by, but also at the beginning of the book, Amy had previously mentioned that Claudia was worried her sister Amy was going to have to turn to prostitution to survive. And that point was harped on greatly at the beginning of the book. I'm like, I understand. I get this concept. We don't need to go over this again. Why are we talking about this again? I understand. Can we move past this? So like I wish there was a little bit more of the society and a little less about how women were treated, because once you make the point, you can move on and do something else. But yeah, and Claudia was she was there, you know, and I mean her motivations worked. She wanted to save her sister, and everything was there. I don't know, beats wise, trope wise, character wise. I didn't absolutely love her, and it seems that Paulina has finished the book.
Nope, I didn't finish the book. I'm at, what am I at right now? 65%. So I'll finish in the next 15 minutes. But I have to say that I strongly disagree with all three of you guys on this book. Sorry to say that. There's not many books that I can't put down once I pick up. And I literally sat on my bed, opened the book, didn't go to the bathroom. I ran to the bathroom before the podcast. Because to me, it's a good book. Like, literally, I like the main character. I like that it's in first person because of the fact that I feel that I actually connected. I love her. She's like, yeah, I guess maybe because I care for my siblings, she's like me. If it was an apocalypse, I would worry about my sister. I would worry about my brother. I constantly do now. Like, I'm always like, well, is someone mistreating him? What is he doing to make money? How is he doing this? That's in my forefront every day, all day. So I can kind of understand why she feels this way, where she's constantly worrying about her brother or about her sister. Sorry, because I'm the same way. So to me, and maybe because I'm in a different situation, I like it. I like the fact that that's what's in her forethought. She's like, this guy's really hot. But my sister. Because I swear to God, I would tear down the whole place to save my brother. So to me, maybe I connected to her on that sense. I liked her. And I'm reading it, and I'm like, yay! So, like, I'm at the part where they're getting ready to start a nest, I guess. So, I don't know. To me, she connects to me, and maybe it's just how I'm taking care of my family that's different, because I'm the parent, and that's kind of what she is. She became the parent in this kind of post-apocalypse world. And I think the focus of the story is more on characters than on the world. Yeah, the rift happened. Maybe she explains it in other books, but to me, I'm like, it happened. Now let's try to live with this. So I like her. So yeah, okay.
So Paulina likes her, I think.
Mm-hmm.
No, I don't like her. I love her. She's me. If it was a post-apocalypse world, honestly.
I felt very little emotional connection to her. So I feel like that's why I didn't really get super excited about her. Like maybe you have more of a connection to her, but I didn't feel that. And I don't think Electra did either. as
Maybe
far as, yeah.
it might just be the connect, like I said, because I have to actually, you guys really don't worry about anyone if you think about it. Like with my brother with schizophrenic, I have to worry about him just like she has to worry about her sister with a lame leg. So it's not the fact that, like right now, my brother's out somewhere and, you know, I'll call him in about an hour. What are you doing? Are you okay? Do you need food? Do you need money? So caring for someone like that is a little different than someone who's more able-bodied. So
But
maybe it's that connection.
I have a similar connection as I legally emancipated myself at 16 and got guardianship over my brother and while I was in high school, had a full-time job to take care of him. So I understand that connection far as take care of your siblings and things along those lines, but I just didn't, even my circumstances and situations, knowing what it was like to take care of a younger sibling and take care of myself, I still didn't have that connection with her. But that's not to say somebody else wouldn't, but I just didn't.
I don't like how Claudia fixated on how helpless her sister Amy may have been. Because she's mentally competent and yeah, she walks with a limp and the injury is kind of new. I just thought that she harped on that fact, like that her sister is absolutely helpless. Like I'm like, I can understand that maybe if she's explained, you know, that she's soft-hearted or she's just really sympathetic and someone might take advantage of her, but I got a child out of bed again. So Ishabelle has joined us, which is a nice surprise. Did you want to tell us about what you thought about Claudia and Ko?
I haven't finished it completely yet just because of schedule, but I'm enjoying it. I'm enjoying their relationship. I think it's wonderful, actually. I think it's very clever how there's a language barrier. I think that's quite interesting, and for lack of better words, she's almost treating him like a puppy, I guess. But I mean, how else would you react? I mean, okay, if I were picked up by some dragon and it's trying to sniff my crotch, I'm gonna smack his nose and say no too, you know, just like if one of my, you know, dogs. No. So I get that. To me, that was humor and added, you know, a realistic reaction. I mean, it was instinct for her to do that. And the language barrier kind of motivates that behavior along. You know, she doesn't know he's intelligent. He has a human form, but that doesn't mean, you know, he's intelligent by any means. And since so far what I've read, mostly he's been in dragon form to where I'm at. I'm probably about 30% done with the book. Actually, where am I? Oh, they just found the office and she's washing up and all that. So, I mean, they're starting to have some human interaction and she's responding well to his human touch. So I like that. But I think their relationship is one out of necessity at this point for her. And, you know, he can't just tell her, you're my mate. She has no idea this dragon has a mate. You know, it's a necessity thing for her. So I think their interaction and relationship is developing rather nicely.
Yeah, it's a forced proximity type of situation. So, like, she needs him to survive because, you know, she's at the top of an office building and can't get down. And he's like, hey, I've met my mate and my sole purpose in existing is taking care of her. Hang on a second. Sorry, I've got another child out of bed.
Well, that's exactly what it is. You know, at one point she actually thought they came back to save her and had changed their mind. And instead they're fucking shooting at her.
I hate the humans in this story. I hate them.
I mean, yeah, it's definitely, he is the lesser of two evils at this point. So that's her forced reaction.
I wanted her to barbecue them. I mean, let him barbecue. I'm like, come on, please. Sorry. I know I'm still reading, but I was sitting there like barbecue, barbecue, barbecue. Okay, anyway.
I saw vast parallels between this book and the movie that we reviewed. Because you have a human woman and a dragon shifter dude, male character, and they are forced to be together, you know, like in close proximity to each other, and their relationship develops throughout the story, and then it comes to basically a decision of, you know, do I choose humanity over, you know, my dragon shifter lover guy. So I really saw a lot of parallels between I Am Dragon. What the hell is the name of it?
I Am Dragon.
I Am Dragon, thank you. I keep thinking I Am Number 4 because I love that movie. But anyway, so yeah, I Am Dragon, and this book, I kept just in my head, I was like, oh, that reminds me of the movie. Oh, that reminds me of the movie. Oh, that reminds me of the movie.
But isn't that just a standard formula?
I think it is. I think it is, especially when one character is of a differing species than the other character and they would not normally cohabitate. You have to use forced proximity. Either his people kicked him out and he's hiding amongst her folks, is, you know, a standard trope for that, or he's kidnapped her. That's another trope. That's, you know, it's all, you have to use forced proximity because those are two creatures that would never, in a natural situation, probably get that close enough to fall in love or feel lust or sleep with each other or get it on, or, you know, whatever. So yeah, I think forced proximity is something you sometimes even have to do if you want to go down that road. Aliens, because I mean, how else? I mean, you know, aliens don't just come down, knock on the door and say, you're hot, I want to do you. You know what I mean? Like a lot of times they'll kidnap their mate, or, you know, she ends up saving her and then they're together, or, you know, whatever the case may be. Paulina has something to say, it looks like.
Okay, just getting back to characters. I said about her, but I was talking, I'm just going to pronounce it Kyle because that's how she pronounced it in the beginning. I find him interesting. I really love him, but I find him interesting only in the sense of I write gargoyles which don't shift. And, you know, I was writing one book where I'm writing a book now where the language barrier was there. He couldn't speak. And I think that she actually captured it well by he was able to communicate with her, even though at one point you knew he knew the language because she was talking to him, and like she'd be like, well, if you want to kiss, you gotta let go, and he like, oh, he backs out. You're like, wait a minute. So you knew he understood what she was saying some points, or understand, you know, the voice, like a dog, basically, like Bitch said. But I liked how she was able to convey the different, they were able to still communicate and talk, and how he was able to, I guess he's kind of learning, not learning the human ways, but I mean, after he showed her what's in his mind, why they're mad, I would be mad too if my mind was that filled with crap. So I don't know, to me, he's interesting. I like seeing his development through the book. I'm now at 70%. So I can't wait to see exactly where it ends, because he's just shaping up to be a mate I want. I'm like, shit, can I jump through the book and have him? But I do like his development as he's developing through the book. Still hate the mayor. Want him dead. Hopefully he dies by the end of the book. If not, I'll just jump through and kill him. No, do not tell me if it happens.
Well, I think that we should talk about how they communicate once they actually make a connection, which I thought that was very clever. So once Kale and Claudia actually do the deed, and he bites her, and I don't know, I guess he injects venom into her, which she was not very happy about. But once that connection is made, they can speak telepathically, which makes sense. If you have a dragon form, you're not going to be able to speak any kind of language unless, I guess, it's grunts or clicks. So they speak telepathically, and it's not just words. They can share images. And so once they were actually able to communicate that way, I thought that was very clever because sensory-wise, you would get intent and then you would get emotion, and then you know, so there it's hard to keep secrets from each other, but then you definitely know the other character's intent. So it's like world building. I thought that was really, really clever of the author to do. Plus, we didn't have to read through chapters and chapters of Kale trying to learn English, which I think I looked it up once. I think it takes 3 months to, even with immersion, it takes 3 months to learn language. So I'm like, I don't want to read through 3 months of, yeah. So I thought that was clever. Was there anything else that stood out to anybody about the world building that you were impressed by, or like, I've never run across this before, or this really enhances the story?
I was impressed by the relationship between the female dragons and the male dragons, because I thought they did a very good job of leading into books 2 and 3 by telling you that the female dragons are what cause the red dragons that are constantly attacking, because they're basically in a mating fury. Their proximity, their own madness, like, caused the males to also exhibit the madness. You know what I mean? So, and like, they aren't gentle mates. You know, they like fight their mates, and they're you know, they're kind of like giant bitches pretty much, but it's like they're constantly PMSing all the time. So I thought it was actually very clever, because you have this lead in to all these male dragons that are going to be possible characters for follow-up novels. And so you know that when they meet their fated mate, that it clears that haze like a fury away. So I thought the author did a really good job, because that's a perfect lead-in to having a series of books, because you have an unknown amount of characters that you can write about who are flying around out there who could possibly find their mate who's a human female. Or if you want to go down the male-male route, maybe it's a human man, I don't know. But, you know, you just leave it open to, you know, a really long series possibility, because it even comes up at the end of the book that the girl that they were living with, who was actually prostituting herself and was treated very badly by the soldiers in this crap hole town they were living in, you know, she gets carried off by one of these dragons. And, you know, obviously that's going to be her mate in book 2. I mean, you have to be crazy not to figure that out. But so you've opened yourself up to this possibility of an untold amount of books with, you know, endless characters to write. So that really impressed me, because I was like, oh, yeah, nice little author trick there. I see what you did with that. So yeah, that was one thing that I did like.
Ish or Electra?
That was, I would say, my favorite part. That's what kept me continuing to read the book, was I wanted to know more about the dragon world. I wanted to know more about the female dragons, because I wanted to know what was causing their fury, as well as the males and all that. So I kept reading and hoping to see if the author would give us some more of that, because that was actually my favorite part, was the rift in the dragon's world. And I didn't get that by the end, but maybe she has plans to explore it in the next few books. I don't know, but
I would be extremely interested to see a female find her fated mate in a human male, and see if that clears her up like it clears up the guys, because that's a good question that she kind of left hanging too. Is like, are they also going to find human mates?
And that's what I was kind of like, when she started to go that route and kind of explain about the females, I really thought that at the end, she was going to bring out like this female dragon. And I was like, oh my gosh, if that was the case, I'd be reading book 2 already, because I was more interested in the female dragons than I was the male. I just thought the females were more, just what little glimpse she gave, I thought the females were just way more interesting to me.
So I'm kind of in the middle of book 3 right now. So apparently this is my catnip, because I just went and read the rest of the series. So if you really want to know if they address any more of the history and the Red Dragons, I can give you a little more insight. Although we are We are
Silence.
talking about book one.
I'm reading the other books after this. Silence.
Yes, no spoilers. I'm reading them all too, so.
So
Do we need to schedule follow-up reviews?
probably.
Ishabelle, did you have a particular, I mean, I know you're only 30% in, but did you find anything about the world building that you really, really liked that hasn't been covered? Or did someone cover it?
I liked the whole Armageddon scenario. I truly believe if, we were to face some kind of apocalypse, whether a zombie or, dragon in this case, I think humanity is a nasty creature most of the time, and you would find the things that we're seeing in what I've read so far, women prostituting themselves to survive, soldiers abusing their power, mayors, our society is hierarchical regardless. And it's always going to be no matter what the circumstances are. So I really liked that aspect. One of my complaints about The Walking Dead, which I love that show, by the way, it's, my top 5, 6 shows. It's been like 2-3 years now, and there's no government reestablished. I call bullshit, because after a year or so, it is going to reestablish itself one way or another. Maybe not America, but somebody is going to reestablish a society regardless. And I'd liked that in this book, they had done that. They reestablished that society. It wasn't perfect by any means. They were doing the best they could, but it was there. A society, they were doing what they could. They were making the best of their circumstances for the most part, but society had not completely fallen, if that makes any sense.
People were still living in organized groups. It wasn't just mass chaos, right?
Exactly.
Okay.
It calmed down. Society is trying to rebuild regardless, and that's the human nature.
I wanted to touch a little bit on the craft or the tense. So this is written in a first person present tense, which actually, once I got into it, I could read it without, but like I was like, I picked it up and I'm like, oh, it's first person present, which isn't a tense I read very often. Have a problem with the tense, like just getting into it. Like I said, once I was reading it, it was like I was there. I knew what was going on.
No, I don't mind tenses. I get in if it's a good story and it hooks me in the first couple paragraphs. I don't care what tense it's written in.
Yeah, well, I think that was the end result of, like I picked it up. I'm like, oh, first person present, and I'm like, oh, the story's good. I'm gonna keep going. I write in third person past tense, so it was a little bit new for me. Paulina's waving at me.
Yes. It's just funny. I'm still reading, and you just said, oh, it was in first person present. I was like, no, it's not. So I go back up and read, like, it goes, I continue. Oh, it is. Didn't even notice. That's like the funny part. That's why I started laughing. I was like, it's in what?
Right. Well, I don't think non-authors will pick it up. Like, I think regular readers are like, oh, I'm reading, it's great. No, I'm saying
I mix first and third a lot, so and present and past. So like my heroine will be speaking in first person present, and my hero's chapters are third person past, and so it doesn't bother me. But in general, I don't typically read a whole lot of my favorite romances in first person present. They're usually third person past tense. Not that it bothers me in any way for it to be first person, but as I was thinking back over like some of my favorite ones, they're mostly third past, I think. It didn't bother me though. I enjoyed it. I mean, the voice was fine.
Right. I think the voice overall makes all the difference, because if the voice wasn't there and it was third person or first person present, like if it was clunky. And I think that's my point, is it wasn't clunky. Like I read it and like I identified it immediately, but then the whole thing just flowed and it was good. So I think that Ishabelle has something to say.
I think the flow, like you said, wasn't clunky. I really loved the inner thought process of Claudia, or Claudia. I really love her inner, I mean, she was quite humorous, even at times of seriousness. She still had that snark about her, you know, oh crap, you know, it is what it is. That, you know, oh my God, I'm being taken prisoner, but oh, look, a bath. You know, I haven't had a bath in a long time. This may not be so bad. You know, I mean, I think that's realistic. I've been in situations that probably weren't too pleasant, but in the end, I still kind of just wandered off the path of, oh my God, this is horrible to, you know, and she maintained that in the voice. It was a very active voice. So I really did love that, or do love that, because I'm still reading it, so.
Well, I can tell you, the rest of the books are really great. There is, for me, for each book, there's like a lull in the middle, and I'm not really sure, I can't put my finger on what it is, where it seems to, everything slows down really fast, and I've got this moment like, maybe I should put it down, but then I'm like, nope, I'm going to finish reading, and then the rest of it picks up and it's great. So we can wrap up with our overall rating. I guess we can do stars. We haven't really agreed on a rating system, but because I'm already on book 3, I'm going to give book 1 a 5. Because if I'm willing to pay, what are these, $4.99 for an ebook, it's got to be compelling. So yeah, 5 from me. Amy?
Well, probably, I don't know, a 3. I mean, it wasn't awful. I do not finish it. I'd read book 2 if somebody gave it to me. I'm not going to rush out and purchase it because I thought this is the best book I've ever read in my life. If you haven't noticed already, I have like extremely high standards. So there's the books that make me ugly cry. There's the books that I finished, and then there's the books that I didn't finish. So this is, you know, somewhere between finished it and it made me ugly cry. It just didn't have that emotional impact for me to give it 5 stars, but it was thoughtfully written. I really enjoyed the hero. I liked his emotional turmoil. I felt more emotionally impacted by him than by her. But I do tend to usually feel a deeper connection to the hero anyway, so that might just be me and my own psychological whatevers. But so yeah, I'm gonna go 3.5, which, if you know me, that's pretty good.
P or Electra?
Sorry. Well, I was at the end of the book. I'm gonna give it a resounding 5 because literally, as you can tell, I'm doing the podcast and reading the book. I'm gonna get off and read this book and hopefully start book 2 and read that till I go to bed tonight. I'm gonna give it a 5. I like it. It's gonna become probably one of my new favorites series, as long as it doesn't run too long and get boring. So yeah, that's mine. Electra?
I'm going to give it 3 because I really did love the world building. I loved the dragon and the rifts and all that. But it just didn't, for character-wise, it just really didn't make it for me. After Claudia rescues her sister, I really thought her sister was ungrateful and just kind of an awful person. Like, oh my gosh, where's this, you know, this sweet, loving, meek child like that, you know, she wanted, you know, Claudia wanted to save, and she wasn't there. And I really felt like Kyle could have been developed a little bit more. I was a little frustrated that he didn't overcome an internal struggle as strong as what he could have over his dragon and over the darkness that was over his mind. You know, I felt like the author kind of used the fated mate as a crutch in that area, where like, oh, as long as Claudia's by me all the time, you know, I can push the, you know, the darkness away. And I just felt like Kyle could have been developed more and made like his internal character arc could have been way better if he kind of just maybe overcome it himself a little bit. But I would say it's a 3 for me, definitely.
P, are you able to give your overall rating? Looks like she's talking to somebody. So I'm sorry, Ishabelle. I do want to say that if you actually read to the end of the book and read the author's notes, it kind of explains that this was an older piece that she may have written before she had completely gotten her craft down. So we were talking previous to recording that some authors include back of book shit, which is a JAS term for just kind of a recounting of how the book was written and how the book came to be. So yeah, I think this is an earlier piece for the author, who writes mostly ice barbarian sci-fi romance. So Ish, are you able to give your overall thoughts on the book?
Well, you guys know me. I'm pretty easy. Once I start reading a book, if I finish it, I'm generally giving it a 5. But I'm only 30% in. So, but it really has engaged me. So unless like the hero falls off a building and dies, I don't expect anything less than a 5 at this moment. And I do plan on reading the entire series, like I said, as long as, the hero doesn't fall off a building and die. So good for me.
You mean it's an actual romance where like the couple ends up together and one of the characters doesn't die? Imagine that. Okay, so we have been talking about Ruby Dixon's Fire in His Blood, which is a Fire Blood Dragon romance. So it's book 1 in a series of 3 so far. You can find it on Amazon. I will include a link in the show notes. I don't have my closer ready. This has been episode number 49. Thank you for joining us. If you like the podcast, please like, comment, and share. Good night.
Good night.